Hey there, listeners. Welcome back to NK Unfolds, where every episode brings you a fresh story, a unique perspective, and a twist you won't see coming. I'm your host, Nolen Kris, and today we're diving into an adventure that's full of mystery, unexpected turns, and a revelation that will leave you questioning everything. Buckle up. This one's a wild ride. It all started with a map. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when Jack Mason, a seasoned treasure hunter, found the weathered parchment in a second-hand bookstore in a sleepy town. Jack wasn't the type to follow treasure maps. He had seen enough fakes and forgeries in his time to know better. But there was something different about this one. The edges were frayed, the ink was faded, but the symbols were like nothing he'd ever seen before. It wasn't a treasure map in the traditional sense. This one led to something else. The map showed an island, but not any island he recognized. It had no name, and the surrounding ocean currents weren't mapped anywhere in the world's atlases. Jack, always the skeptic, wasn't sure if this was a hoax or a stroke of fate. But the curiosity gnawed at him, pulling him into the journey he'd never planned on taking. After weeks of research, Jack found an old nautical chart that, with some adjustments, seemed to confirm the island's existence. The name of the island? Isola di Vento, the island of wind, but that was the least of it. According to the legend, the island was home to a treasure unlike any other, a mysterious artifact capable of changing the course of history itself. No one knew what this artifact was, or if it even existed, but that didn't stop Jack from making his way to the island. Fast forward to the day Jack set sail. He was alone, the way he preferred it. No distractions, no partners to hold him back. As his small boat cut through the stormy seas, the map clutched tightly in his hands, he felt a mix of excitement and dread. Was he chasing a fairy tale? Or was this a golden opportunity? When the island finally appeared on the horizon, Jack could feel something was wrong. The air seemed heavy, like the atmosphere itself was warning him to turn back. But he didn't. He anchored his boat on the rocky shore and began his journey into the heart of the island. The jungle was thick, the air humid, and the sounds of unseen creatures echoed all around him. Jack followed the map's symbols, carefully deciphering the markings as he went. Hours turned into days, and the island seemed to stretch on endlessly. But the deeper he went, the stranger things became. There were odd markings on the trees, unnatural formations in the rocks, and ancient structures half buried in the earth. One morning, after a particularly restless night, Jack stumbled upon what looked like a hidden temple. The structure was made of stone, but it seemed to pulse with an energy that made his skin crawl. As Jack stepped inside, the temperature dropped sharply. Inside the temple, the walls were lined with murals depicting strange beings, half human, half animal, and scenes of cosmic events that were far beyond anything he had ever studied. He felt like he was intruding on something far older and more dangerous than any treasure he had ever sought. Memories of science and magic made his mind race despite the suffering he had been through, and made his obsession with hidden pasts. In the center of the temple was a pedestal. Upon it lay an object wrapped in ancient cloth. Jack's heart raced as he slowly approached, the mystery of the artifact consuming him. He removed the cloth, and that's when everything changed. What lay before him wasn't a golden statue or a priceless gem or anything resembling a treasure. It was a mirror. At first, Jack felt a rush of confusion. A mirror? Was this it? Was this the artifact that could change the course of history? But as he stared into the glass, something shifted. The reflection staring back at him wasn't his own. It was someone else. A younger version of himself, smiling, happy, carefree. But then the reflection began to change, flickering in and out of different versions of Jack's life. The man who had given up his childhood dreams for fame, the adventurer who had lost friends along the way, the loner who had chosen treasure over relationships. And then it stopped. For a long moment, there was silence. Jack reached out, his fingers trembling, and touched the surface of the mirror. And then, the twist. Instead of his reflection, Jack's hand passed right through the glass, as if it was no longer solid. With a gasp, he pulled his hand back, but it was too late. A surge of energy coursed through him, and he was thrown backward. crashing into the cold stone floor of the temple. The world around him began to shift, like the fabric of reality itself was warping. When Jack opened his eyes again, he was no longer in the temple. He wasn't even on the island. He was standing in a bustling city street, but it was all wrong. The people around him wore clothes that didn't belong to this time. Cars hovered above the ground, and strange machines whizzed past him. Jack's heart raced as he tried to make sense of it. What had happened? Where was he? What had he just unleashed? And then, as he looked up at the towering buildings, a thought struck him like lightning. Had he really come here to find treasure? Or had he been searching for a way to change his past? But the twist wasn't over yet. As Jack turned around, he saw a familiar face in the crowd. It was his own face. But it wasn't him. It was the young version of himself from the reflection, the one who had never turned his back on his dreams. That version of himself was smiling, walking confidently toward a future that Jack had never lived. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. The mirror wasn't just a portal to another time. It was a window into what could have been, into the life Jack had chosen not to live. And as he stood there, facing the man he used to be, Jack understood the true treasure of the island. It wasn't gold, it wasn't power, it was the chance to see what might have been, and to decide whether it was too late to turn back. And that's the story, folks. Jack Mason thought he was searching for treasure, but what he found was the most valuable thing of all, a glimpse into his own soul. A mirror that didn't reflect what was, but what could have been. Sometimes the greatest adventure is looking within. What would you do if you could see the path you didn't take? Thanks for tuning in to NK Unfolds. Join me next time where we'll dive into another story that will keep you thinking long after the episode ends. Until then, keep seeking, keep questioning, and never stop unfolding.